All right, good morning, everybody. We are going to be doing our webinar today, and that is the Burning Bright Without Burning Out. And our presenter is going to be Paul, and Paul DeCasey. He has now been a professional speaker for over 28 years, and he equips and coaches leaders and teams to spark breakthrough success. He has coached leaders for over 3,800 hours and is an ACC certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, as well as master trainer and a member of the National Speaker Association. He was honored an Entrepreneur of the Year in Tri-Cities in 2021. Let's see, through his company, Growing Forward Services, Paul has partnered with his corporate and individual clients to transform their vision, their habits, and their lives. He carries out missions of adding value to people by contributing daily inspirational growth messages on local radio, writing for the Tri-Cities Journal of Business, social media posts, 5 books, and his Growing Forward newsletter. Also, he has inspired tens of thousands of individuals and leaders to grow forward through his soft skills seminars, team building offsite retreats, group and executive coaching, and as a keynote speaker. Paul is also married to a lovely Laura. He has 2 young adult children named after state capitals. His own, he's a he has 2 puppies and he lives in Tri-Cities, Washington for over 25 years now. For fun, he enjoys golfing and hiking and orange slices, and he reads over 40 books per year. And then he is going to help you grow forward today. So everybody please welcome Paul Casey.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I put over in the chat, if you don't mind introducing yourself, your name and your position, where you live, and then what do you hope to learn today? So everybody, fast fingers out. We're going to use the chat today. No need to be, you can just be on mute the whole time if you'd like. Always like the camera because I like speaking to faces, but don't feel like you have to be the whole time. But yeah, if you'd introduce yourself in the chat, your name, what you do, where you live, and what do you hope to learn today? Greetings, Darcy. Greetings, Tammy, Linda, the folks in Tacoma.
I was just going to ask you, Paul, do you want me to take care of the chat for you, or is that something that you'd like to handle?
I will keep glancing over there. If you do see something
Okay.
that I miss, feel free to
Okay.
interrupt. Yeah, thank you. There's always that delay, right? I'm like, do. Yeah. Great. All right. We got Danielle in the house, Cassie, Carmen, and Yelm. And if you haven't put what you're hoping to get out of today, go ahead and just add that on. We got delegation, a little bit more of that word balance, self-care, burning bright instead of being overwhelmed. Yes, we'll talk about that today. Yeah, you're all learners or you wouldn't be here. So I'm so glad that you are here today. Here's my family. If you weren't with me last Thursday, some of you were with me last Thursday. So you already got to meet my family, my wife, my 2 adult kids, my 1 puppy, and I still got to get the other one in there. So that's my family. Just a blessing to be able to help lots of companies and organizations around the Northwest and help them grow forward. So let us start with let's start with a little humor. Okay, so you're on the verge of burnout if you throw a stress ball at the last person who stressed you out. You're probably in burnout. Your friends call to ask you how you've been, and you immediately scream at them, "Get off my back." That's probably burnout. Your garbage can is your inbox. Uh-oh. You're throwing it all away. You wake up to discover your bed is on fire, but you go back to sleep because you just don't care. You're probably in burnout. Visions of the upcoming weekend help you make it through Monday. Hope that's nobody today, because today is Monday and we still got 5 more to go before we get to the weekend. How about you leave for a party and instinctively bring your ID badge or your work cell phone? Yeah, you just can't not bring it. You blasted your daily planner with a 357 Magnum a week ago, but you still haven't missed a meeting. It's just emblazoned in your brain. And then finally, you're in burnout. You think about how relaxing it would be if you were in jail right now. That's probably burnout. Yes. At least you get 3 square meals right, there. But yeah, we definitely don't want you in burnout. We want you to be burning bright. So going to give you a whole bunch of stuff today to help you with that, because burnout is really insidious. It's devastating. I was doing this workshop a few years ago at a conference, and 6 months later I get a call from a guy that was in the audience, and that's really weird for a speaker, right? You either get booked right away, like somebody goes, "I want you to talk to my team," and I'm like, "Great," or you never hear from them again. Once in a while they sign up for your newsletter, but usually 6 months later, sort of weird. And he goes, I'm in burnout, Paul. I need help. And so I don't remember my favorite color anymore. I don't have any fun anymore. I'm going through the motions at work. I don't think my employees know, because I'm pretty good at what I do, but it wasn't good. So I worked with him for a while, and I gave him the tips I'm giving you today, and he came out of it. I'm like, "Yay, good coach," right? And then he didn't show up for a session virtually, and I called him, nothing. Text him, nothing. Email, nothing. I'm like, "Uh-oh, he's gone dark. Like, what's going on?" And then finally I got a hold of him, and he said, like, "Paul, I resigned from my job." And I'm like, "Oh, bad coach." And he's like, "No, no, it's actually a really good thing." He said, "I just realized I wasn't living my actual purpose at work. I wasn't living the life that I wanted to be living according to my values. And yeah, everything was a drain. So now I'm living the life I want, spending time with my grandkids, having a great time." And so that was a good end of the story. I also had another client who just came into my office and just dropped on the couch, and she was just grayed out in the face. I mean, I had never seen someone that burned out in my career. She said, "I'm on leave right now. Like, I can't even make it into the office. It's hard for me just to drag myself to your office today, Paul." And she was in full on burnout. And that is a scary place. If you've ever been there, that is a scary place. It's not just overworked or overstressed, it's full on burnout. So I want to keep you as far away from that as possible, because they keep doing research on this, right? SHRM, the human resources people, they did a survey a few years ago. It said that 41% of the folks that they interviewed were feeling burned out, drained, and exhausted from their work. I mean, literally at their wits' end. But here's the kicker: only 1 in 3 had done something about it. Yeah, actually, excuse me, 1 in 3 had done nothing about it. So that was pretty scary, because it's like we're just staying in this state of burnout or overstress, and they hadn't actually done anything about it. And then I saw another resource that said 96% of leaders, and you're all leaders, feel some level of burnout on a regular basis. So that's just about all of us. What is burnout? And if you there's the handout that Brianna put in the chat for you, if you would like it, to fill in blanks. Some of you are blank filler inners, and that helps you track along. And we have 3 hours together, so filling in blanks sometimes helps you stay engaged. And then I'll be using the chat as well to keep you engaged. But if you'd like to do that, download that worksheet. I've got on the cover there a quote from Christina Maslach. She says, "Burnout is a syndrome of emotional exhaustion." I like to think of the word like fried. You just feel fried, right? Depersonalization. I think of the word zombie. And reduced personal accomplishment, just like low effectiveness at what you're doing, that can occur among individuals who do people work of some kind, which is all of us, right? Emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. Burnout is extended frustration, just not one bad day, right? It's having that over and over and over again and not pulling out. Burnout is the barrier to knowing what really counts. It clouds your thinking patterns and you lose perspective on life. It's having too many irons in the fire that the fire in you burns out. So our overview of our 3 hours together is we're going to take an inventory and see how you're at like today on your burnout. We're going to talk about things that lead to burnout. And then the rest of our time will be a few tips on what not to do. And then the rest of our time will be on tips to do. We're going to take a break at the top of both hours. So at noon and at 1 to give you a chance to stretch or get some snacks in you. And then we will bring you back. So to make it through 3 hours of virtual. So again, please use the chat and dive in with that. You can put in smart aleck comments. That's fine. If there are questions, I'll probably have to get to them, around break time or at the end. Or you can reach out to me personally. I will, and my information is on the handout there. If you would like a copy of the speaker notes, in case I don't get to everything today, happy to send those. In fact, I probably will send those just to Brianna, and then you can send those out to everybody, just like I did the feedback ones on Thursday. If you didn't get that one, make sure you reach out to Bree for the feedback handout from the other day. Okay. I'm a solopreneur, so I don't have a team of people, right? So I battle burnout just like many of you do. So I preach at myself when I'm sharing this with you. But let's go to the chat and ask you this question. What does being burned out feel like or look like to you? When you're on the verge of burnout, go ahead and describe that to me in the chat. What's that like for you? What does being burned out feel like or look like to you? All right. Thank you, Barbara. Lack of patience. Ooh, that's a pretty common one. Yep. We got a short fuse. Excessively overtired. Yeah, just hard to move. Not caring. Don't want to go to work. Looking for a different job. Yes. Thinking what you do doesn't matter. We're going to talk about all of those. Thank you for your honesty. Never enough time in the day. Whew. Yep. The to-do list never shrinks, right? That lack of patience, lack of empathy. There's a good one. Yep. Brain overworking, can't sleep. Or if you do sleep for a while, then you probably wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, right? I've got several clients like that. Irritable, low energy, exhausting. Might as well call in today. Yep. Overloaded mentally, can't process thoughts. Need emotional escape. Yes. Yes. Pull the blanket over your head and tell everyone to go away. Yep. All right. Thank you for sharing those with me. I really appreciate that because that's sort of lowering the playing field because we're all wrestling with it. All right, let's find out where you're at right now. So you have in your handout the burned out inventory, but let me also put on the screen in case you didn't download that. And you can just sort of jet through the list here. Okay. I'm going to read through them really fast. It's just a yes or no. You're going to check the statements with which you agree right now. Okay, this is just a time and place right now deal. Okay, here we go. More and more I find I can hardly wait for quitting time to come so I can leave work. Just yes or no. Number 2, I feel like I'm not doing any good at work these days. Some of you put that in the chat as that's a sign for you. Number 3, I'm more irritable than I used to be. Number 4, I'm thinking more about changing jobs. Number 5, lately I've become more cynical and negative. Number 6, I have more headaches or backaches or some other physical symptom than usual. Number 7, often I feel hopeless, like who cares? That's the old blanket over the head thing, right? Number 8, I drink more now or take this is a little dated with tranquilizers, right? Let's just say any kind of medication just to cope with everyday stress. Number 9, my energy level is not what it used to be. I'm tired all the time. Number 10, I feel a lot of pressure and responsibility at work these days. Number 11, my memory is not as good as it used to be. Number 12, I don't seem to concentrate or pay attention like I did in the past. 13, I don't sleep as well. 14, my appetite has decreased these days, or the opposite, I can't seem to stop eating. 15, I feel unfulfilled and disillusioned, sort of jaded. 16, I'm not as enthusiastic about work as I was a year or two ago. That's waning. 17, I feel like a failure at work. All the work I've done hasn't been worth it. 18, I can't seem to make decisions as easily as I once did. So I get that paralysis. 19, I find I'm doing fewer things at work that I like or that I do well. 20, I often tell myself, why bother? Doesn't really matter anyhow. 21, I don't feel adequately rewarded or noticed for all the work I've done. 22, I feel helpless, as if I can't see any way out of my problems. 23, people have told me I'm too idealistic about my job. And 24, I think my career has just about come to a dead end. All right, so you're going to count up your yeses. And it says if you agree with the majority of those, I guess that would be like 13 yeses, then you may be feeling burnout and be in need of professional help or counseling, which I can't help you with today, but a change in lifestyle at the least. That is something I can help you with today by giving you some tips to burn bright instead of burn out. Okay, so any insights from that you want to put in the chat? You're just like, you just took that. What's sort of like resonating with you after taking that? And again, this is just time and place. You might answer differently 6 months ago. And, oftentimes we're coming right out of a crisis or a hard time, or we're about to go in one, or we're in that, that eye of the storm, right? So this is just handy to have for your files in case you need it, or for your team, or any clients that you have, because they might need this. And you've got a tool that you're going to be able to whip out and say, here, take this. Let's just get a quick read on where you're at. So that's often helpful just to have a tool. Okay, back to the chat. Well, actually, before that, on the other hand, you're in balance when a couple things are happening. When you're experiencing joy, isn't that a great word? I love that word, joy. That even joy is like you're still bouncing and having a great time, even though you've got difficult circumstances hitting you. Like it's almost transcendent, right? You're rising above the yuck that might be in your life. Experiencing peace, that's a good sign too, right? You're not always in anxiety and worry, but it's like, okay, I'm resilient. I can bounce. You've eliminated high maintenance, low impact areas of your life, because those are the things that often lead to burnout, right? You're actually saying yes to the right things, saying no to the right things. And then you're looking at people, not through them. Isn't that good? Sometimes, somebody has to sort of wave their hand in front of your face like, hello, are you in there? You're almost looking past them, and people realize that you don't seem real present right now, like with me in this moment, because you've sort of drifted off. So these are the good signs, and that's sort of the vision that I have for us all today, is to have more of this that's on the screen right now. Okay, now let's get real with what puts you on the road to burnout. In the chat, please, everyone, if you're willing, do you mind going over there and typing a few things, or maybe one main thing that puts you on the road to burnout? When you're headed there, what are those things that are happening in your life that are leading to burnout? You've already described what that feels like when you're in it, But let's back up a step and say, when this happens, I'm probably burning out. Yeah, not enough time. Amos, yeah, I wish we could have 25 hours in the day. Not enough self-care. I'm going to talk a lot about that today. Not able to sleep. And sleep is that baseline wellness habit, right? So that just makes everything crummy after that. Competing priorities, yes. It's hard to do all of them at once. And what am I going to work on and not get paralyzed with all that's on my to-do list? Christina says, unrealistic expectations from others. Yeah, that's a load. Eating more at your desk, not wanting to leave your desk, worried you won't get things done in time. Oh, wow, that's a lot of pressure. Yep. Taking care of others and never myself. Yep, Danielle, pouring into other people, but do you have anything to pour out yourself? Overcommitting, poor eating habits, not sleeping or eating normally, feeling like doesn't want to go to work because you love your job. So when you feel like you don't want to go, that's really a bad sign. Yes, that's true. Not delegating, trying to own it all yourself, Carmen. Yep. And that constant balance, Shane, of home life with work life. When you're in one, maybe feeling guilty about not giving the other one enough time, right? Or in the other one, not feeling this one. Yes. Mental exhaustion. Yeah. Yeah. So quick story for me is I said yes to be the executive director of Leadership Tri-Cities. This is where I live for 22 months. And on top of my job, right? And again, like I said, I don't have a team. So on top of being married, on top of trying to take care of myself, right? And I thought I could do it. I said, I could do it for like 2 days a week. And it was too much, right? Halfway through, I'm falling under this load. I reduced it to 8 hours a week. And then I resigned at the end of last year because it was just killing me slowly, right? I was not having any fun. Marriage was suffering, health was suffering, and it was like I'm experiencing burnout. I'm really close, and I don't want something to really shatter, right? So I was living this out, feeling guilty that I wasn't giving the other thing more time. All right, here's my list of things that lead to burnout. And as we go through this list, go ahead and mark the ones where you're vulnerable. Okay, where you're vulnerable. Some of you already mentioned some of these, and there's some others that you might say like, oh yeah, that one too. Depression over unmet expectations. Someone said this one. Basically, burnout is a sustained negative response to stress, right? So it's not that you have stress, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, because we need some in our life. We need stress. That's a good thing. But if we have a sustained negative reaction to it, that's a bad thing. And that kind of stress response starts to strain and deform. And that's where we get dis-ease, disease, dis-ease is when that happens. So this first one is truly that. Much of depression is the result of running out of emotional energy. If you are burned out, you are probably also battling depression at some level. And if you are in depression, as I put on the screen here, you're going to look for ways to cope, right? You're going to probably create a secret life to bring comfort to alleviate the pain. And usually these are things that we're not proud of. They're addictions or soft addictions or just other things where we just binge, whatever that thing is for us. And we just go, wow, I would hate that to be put on a billboard, my life, this is what I do all the time, but that nobody sees, right? So if you want to also check and do another survey, there is one called hopefordepression.com. So hope and the FOR for depression.com. Another thing to have in your files, right? It's for those other people. I'm asking for a friend, right? Hopefordepression.com is a depression evaluation. And again, says like, oh, I got a lot of these markers right now. I should probably make that appointment with my counselor, right? Get some help because I don't want to go underground with these things to cope. Your brain does not want you to be there. So that's why we try to come up with this secret life to get through it. Okay, is that one of the ones you're vulnerable at? How about number 2? Focus entirely on yourself, which is called myopia, or focusing entirely on others, and you have a lack of self-care. I would guess in this group, knowing who you are and where you work, most of you probably suffer with the second one more than the first one. You do know some myopia people. It's all about my breaks and my schedule and my life and my pain and my everything, right? And they can't pick their head up to see anything else in the world. But I think for us people helpers, it's the second one, right? It's this lack of self-care. We're told a lot of times that leaders should be selfless, right? But I think it's better said leaders should be self-full. I mean, not full of ourselves in a pride kind of a way, but that we have gas tanks that are full so that we can run our organizations, right? These recovery centers, we want to actually be full of fuel so that we can lead our teams well and all the folks that we are trying to help. Self-care is not selfish. I had one client say that once. I wanted to jump over the table and go like, no, that's not true, right? But that was her mindset. Self-care is selfish. I tried to explain to her that self-care is stewardship. It's a stewardship of the talents we've been put on this earth to use, and that's why we have to fill ourselves up with our energy. Number 3, maybe it is this one for you: loss of vision or mission at work or in your life, right? So if you are feeling this right now, you feel a little off track, a little aimless, drifting, maybe going through the motions. I don't know anyone that wakes up in the morning and go, I get to go through the motions today, right? It's sort of funny to say that, right? Because that is not how we want to wake up. It doesn't feel very fulfilling when that happens. There's actually a term for it. It's called surface acting. Surface acting is when you just go through the motions, and on the surface, it looks like you got it all together. You're doing all your leadership things that you're supposed to be doing. No one probably notices, but actually that will burn you out pretty fast if you're not living your authentic you as you're going through your job. Simon Sinek wrote the book Start With Why, and he said people lose their way when they lose their why. Isn't that good? People lose their way when they lose their why. So if you see yourself or somebody else that's just sort of drifting off and getting into trouble and like not doing all the things that they say they should be doing, oftentimes they've lost their why, and that is manifesting itself in losing their way. So we got to get back to that. We don't want to live the copy paste life, right? It's going to be the same as it was on Friday. Now it's the same today. It's going to be the same one tomorrow. How about this one? Taking the full load instead of delegating. Somebody is here wanting to learn more about delegating today. I heard that in the chat. You know what? Your shoulders just aren't that broad to carry it all. They're just not. Right now, if you are the lone wolf at your place, right, and you do have to do it all, first of all, I want to empathize with you. Like that's a lot, because I experienced that myself. But usually you have a team wrapped around you somewhere, or there are folks that you can delegate. Even at home, you could probably delegate to your kids maybe more than you're doing now, but your shoulders just aren't that broad. Here, take a guess with me over in the chat. What percent of employees say that their manager is putting off signals that they're overwhelmed? Just take a guess in the chat. What percent of employees across all industries say their manager is putting off signals that they are, that they are overwhelmed? What do you think? Just take a guess. I know I'm just asking you to guess. Okay. Well, Emily, that's pretty high. And that would be crummy, huh? But thank you for guessing, because we have no idea, right? Anybody else want to take a guess? Still too high, Shane. But that would be awful, right? Have that many. Thank you for guessing. Yeah, it's actually like nobody wants to guess now. It's actually 27%. 27% of employees across all industries say their manager is putting off signals that they are overwhelmed, like they just can't handle leadership for another day, right? And that is not the signals we want to be putting off, is it, in our leadership? We want to be like a rock for people. We want to be human, of course, and we all have bad days, but people need to be looking to us to hold it together, right? Because they're not holding it together, so they need to look to us to do that. So that's why it's so important for us to learn this stuff. Okay, next one is feeling alone, getting no positive feedback. Somebody mentioned this one in the chat too, right? So this is when you just every day go, am I making a difference at all here? That's a crummy question to have to ask, right? Am I making a difference here? Because nobody is pointing this out, right? There's maybe you don't have a voice, or just no one is asking you like how you're doing. And what's sad is most employees say that the only feedback they get is negative, like what you can do better. And I'm all for self-improvement and continuous improvement. However, we need a good dose of positive feedback and affirmation and recognition to keep us going. So maybe this is you today, feeling alone. How about going outside your ability or giftedness or your talents? And you're just sort of hanging out there a lot, but it's like, no, but my strengths are really these other things, right? Like for me, it's detail work. If I have to do too many little details, I'm going to burn out because I'm a little bit more vision, big picture, strategy. And when I get down in the details, I'm going to burn out faster. Things are going to take twice as long. And I put here, Michael Jordan, I think, is still the best basketball player ever. You can argue with me on that one, but I'm from Chicago and I was there during the Michael Jordan years, so I'm a little biased. But even he tried to play baseball for the Chicago White Sox, and he didn't do very well. He struck out and he dropped fly balls in center field, and it's like, this guy is like the most amazing basketball player of all time, but he went outside of his ability or gifting zone. Even though he's a great athlete, he didn't know baseball. And so, yes, we should be willing to sling chairs, in our multi-purpose rooms. But if we do that all day and we don't do what we're gifted to do, we'll burn out faster. How about this one? Ooh, pleasing everyone. I think somebody said this one in the chat. Okay. Any recovering pleasers? Yeah, Pleasers Anonymous. Yeah. Hi, my name is Paul, and I'm a pleaser. Hi, Paul. Yeah, we got PTP, right? Propensity to please. Propensity to please. And I put here on the screen, it's an insatiable quest to try to please everybody. And you know what's really sad? Then the one time you don't, then they jump on you, right? Like, oh, you didn't come through for me. And you're just like, but I've been doing these other 100 things, right? And then you get resentful. I'm like, wow, what's the point? So trying to please all people all the time, not a good quest. Work for need, not approval. Some of us have that approval addiction, and that's not good. It would be better for us to just meet those needs that we see and make sure our needs are met, and then beef up our boundaries, which we will talk about a little later. Got a few more here. Too many commitments. This is that one that Amos, you were talking about here. Too many commitments. This is the most common thing of burnout. You just got your load is too big. This is where you don't have that thing called margin. What's margin? Margin is the load, all the things on your plate, minus your limits, which is your time and your energy. And those are finite resources, right? So if you subtract your limits from your load and you have a positive score, you have margin in your life. Yay, way to go. You're burning bright. If your load and your limits equal each other and it's a zero, you have no margin. You're living on the edge. And you know what? You can have negative margin when your load overshadows your limits. And when you're in the negative, things aren't very fun. Like, for example, let's say you say to the person you love the most, like, we should get to know our neighbors. Like, we just go into our garages and we don't talk to them. Like, yeah, it's a great idea. And if you have margin in your life, you're like, look at your calendar and like, yeah, we could do it Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Yeah, this is great. It's a great conversation. If you have zero margin in your life, hey, we should get to know our neighbors. Yeah, we should do that. We haven't done that. But then you look at your calendar like, wow, we've got a little window, on Saturday from like 5 to 7, and ooh, maybe Monday night for an hour or two. And it's a little bit of a stressful conversation. If you have negative margin, now you're actually getting in an argument. Like, we don't even have time for me. I don't even have time to mow the lawn. And you're actually fighting. It's the same wonderful concept of getting to know your neighbors, but with negative margin, you get irritable and it becomes a fight. That's why it's great to always evaluate before you say yes, how much margin you have in your life. Two more. Lack of unity on your team or in your family for a long period of time. So if you've ever had a high maintenance staff member, you know that just having to deal with them, put them on a performance improvement plan, maybe terminate them over time, that took a lot out of you. or maybe you've got family members in your immediate family or extended family that are sucking the life out of you, right? They're just their habits and maybe their mental health becomes an issue, and then it just sucks the life out of everyone. I think of it like wearing the treads down on your tire, right? If you wear down the treads on your tire, you go through water, you could hydroplane, and that could lead to something fatal. And so that constant conflict in your life will wear on you, wear down those treads, and then it turns into something ugly. So it is really important to make sure you get breaks from that. A lot of that's out of your control, I know, but the ones that are in your control, we have to deal with. And then finally, not having your tank filled up and then not realizing you're on empty. So it's bad enough if your tank isn't filled up, which happens to us. We just get empty. But then if we don't realize we're on empty, we get, we get the burnout symptoms and we just go like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I struggling here? And here's the leadership principle. Effective leadership can be nullified by an ineffective personal life. You all know someone, maybe it's been you or somebody else, where their personal life overshadowed their work life and they couldn't pull it together, right? They brought all that stress to work and they had to call in all the time. They weren't fully present there. They're on personal calls all day long, and they just fell apart because they couldn't get past that or let something go or be successful in their personal life. So it's really important for us to do that, because burnout is giving what we do not possess. It's pouring out of an empty cup. And we definitely don't want to do it while we're in leadership. Okay, everybody in the chat, where are you most vulnerable from this list of about 10 things here? As you look back through your notes there, which one or two of these you would go like, yep, that's you're gonna say the same thing you did a minute ago in the chat. That's what puts you on the road to burnout. Or as you saw this one, you went like, oh yeah, that too. I have to be aware of that leading to burnout. Go ahead and put that over in the chat. Where are you most vulnerable in that list? Amos, all of the above. It's a checklist to avoid, right? All right, too many commitments. We got a ditto there. Too many commitments. Yep. We're going to switch our topic to boundaries today. No, I will bring it up, but maybe if we get the chance to chat again, I can do a little talk on that. Yep, focusing too much on others instead of yourself. Lack of unity, pleasing. Yeah, I get the family emergency on top of the commitment, right? It's like the tipping point, puts you over the edge, right? I could probably handle already this lots of stress, and then one more thing, that puts me over the edge. Okay, again, thank you for your honesty on that. Yeah, Barbara, that's so true. The calling out thing, that if I had to say one of the number one stressors for the leaders that I coach, and I'm in a whole bunch of different industries, that's a biggie right now. The calling out, having to redo schedules, all that extra time that I didn't feel was there like 10, 15 years ago. I just feel like people didn't call out as much as they do today. Okay, here are some things not to do, and then we'll spend the rest of the time on what to do, okay? And don't feel targeted or judged on these. We've all done at least one of them, if not more. Okay, don't drown your sorrows, everyone. Drinking alcohol. You're like, oh, I gotta have my glass of wine at night. I'm not judging you, right? But I just know that alcohol gives temporary relief, but it disrupts the body's calming processes, and it actually intensifies depression. So we don't want to go there. Excessive TV or video game time, especially the stressful kinds of shows and video games, that the research says it puts you back in the place of the stress at work. And oftentimes that's like PTSD, right? It's like now I'm reliving that stress. It doesn't settle you at all. It actually mimics the stress on the job. So be careful what you watch at night. How about plugging away for 11 or more hours a day? Now you're like, I've done that. I'm like, yeah, we've all done that, right? But if you do it on a regular basis, the doctors have said that 11 is the magic number or the bad number for a higher heart disease risk. If you keep plugging away at 11 hours or more a day, you have a higher risk of heart disease. And I know why we do it, right? We're like, all right, I just got to get ahead, right? If I just take a few days and bang it out and go through my tray, and get these emails caught up. But actually, do you ever get ahead? I don't know if that we ever get ahead. It's more like constantly draining your resources, like having all the apps running on your phone at once, it drains the battery faster. That would probably be my best metaphor for that. And now you're going to have trouble solving tasks. Now you're going to have trouble getting your to-do list and problem solving. So be careful of the working too many hours. Some other ones on here, taking dangerous risks. Only one of the personality styles usually does that, where it's just like, heck with life, I'm going mountain biking off a cliff, and some of you would be like, all right, that's not my problem. But there might be a few of you that are just like, who cares? So don't do that, even though it numbs your pain for a bit, the adrenaline junkie thing. Hibernating. People say that social isolation hurts your blood pressure. So yes, we do need some chill time, and I'm going to be a big proponent of solitude. But if we just never have any relationships moving along outside of work, it actually hurts us. You would think like, oh, but then we don't have all those germs. Like, yeah, but actually there's an emotional or mental or spiritual component here too. Venting. You're like, Paul, I've always heard venting is great. Well, actually, the research on venting says it's stress inducing. It feeds your go system and your anger, and that anger has to go somewhere, at somebody or something, and it actually is counterproductive. Now, this might be syntax, but when I teach people, the opposite of venting is processing. So processing is actually getting with someone who can help you figure it out for your growth, like to actually turn this around, find a silver lining in this, or say like, all right, here's your next steps, like a coach would do or a mentor, right? Processing is way better than venting. Venting is just straight up complaining. And then we've got the binge whatever, right? Binging anything, right? Binge eating doesn't make us feel good. That we're probably getting closer to diabetic levels, if we binge eat. Binge shopping, they call it doom spending. You've heard of doom scrolling. So doom spending is where you just get your Amazon account out and you're just like, buy, 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 right? Because you're just trying to cope. So you're like, maybe a little retail therapy would help me out here. But then you get those regrets when you get your credit card bill, right? Not good. So binging anything is probably not good. Okay, so you're looking at that list. You don't have to put this in the chat, but just be aware that these are quick fixes. Again, they might help you through one night, but overall, there are better alternatives to help you burn bright than burn out. All right, let's head into those. Let's get a one or two under our belt, and then we will take our first break. All right, so if I were in a room, we were in a room together, a conference room, I would have you turn to the person next to you and say, you're not going to burn out, okay? So just in your mind, you could tell the people around you, some of you know each other better than others. We're going to help each other not burn out. In order to do that, we really need a system of self-care. And if you are that analytical style, I called it the beaver style the other day, right? The four animals, lion, otter, golden retriever, beaver. Again, if you didn't take that survey, some of you did, I saw it. I saw your name come through. So thank you for taking the personality survey on my website, growingforwardservices.com or .net, excuse me, growingforwardservices.net. Up at the top, it's a free personality style. And you can find out if you're a lion, otter, golden retriever, or beaver. Okay, the beaver style is the analytical style, and it's all about overthinking, right? So the word system is actually a system. Save yourself time, energy, and money. So if you're a beaver, you're like, that's pretty funny. All the other styles are like, that's not very funny. Okay, but we love systems if we are analytical style. And the point here is to sharpen the saw. Stephen Covey said that's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people is sharpen the saw. He means like if I gave you a dull saw and said, go saw that tree, you'd be like, it would take you forever. Wouldn't it be better to just stop, go sharpen the saw for a few minutes? Yes, you have to walk away from the task. And then you'll come back and you get through that tree, lickety split, right? It's going to be better. But we don't do that. We just keep grinding at work all day long, right? We should just take a break, but we're like, can't take a break. I can't eat my lunch in the break room. I have to eat at my desk, right? And then we don't get the benefit of the break. And we just keep grinding longer and longer instead of taking our vacations, taking our breaks, and then we get through our lives a whole lot better and with a whole lot more energy. You ever been too busy driving to get gas? You know what? Your gas tank is on E and you're driving along and you're like, I'm late. There's a gas station, but I hope E doesn't really mean E. And if you're in a newer vehicle, you know, or you're just like, I don't know if E really means E. I hope there's a few more gallons in there after that. And so you drive past another gas station, you're like, I should stop, but I'm not gonna, you know, I'm late. I got to get to another appointment. And then, so you're starting to sweat a little bit like, oh, it'd be really embarrassing for me to run out of gas and have all the people I know driving past me on the freeway. And then you finally stop and get gas, right? And it's like, like now I'm good for another week. But we're too busy driving to get gas. And I love that metaphor because that's what we do. Because we're achievers, we're responsible leaders, and so we just keep driving. I'm going to encourage you to stop and replenish. Okay, so circle your favorites as we go. You can't do all of these things, so I'm going to give you sort of a menu to pick from. And which one do you think would actually help you burn bright and not burn out? Number 1, recognize the danger signs and read your gauges. Recognize the danger signs and read your gauges. Okay, so what are these? What am I talking about? So if you're on the verge of burnout, some of you put this in the chat earlier, you've got some gauges to watch. Like one of mine is a lack of creativity. I have lots of ideas. I'm an idea, right? And then if somebody has a problem and I have 0 ideas, that's like an uh-oh. Like I just went dark. Like I don't have anything for you. Or I get a call and one of my clients is in a coffee shop locally and says, "Are you coming to our session?" I'm like, oh no, I was moving so fast. I didn't even put them in my calendar. And I got to hustle to get over there right now because I stood them up in a coffee shop. So when I start dropping balls, that's also a sign like I am on the verge of burnout. What one is yours? Okay, go ahead and put in the chat. What is one of your gauges? So some other ones I'll throw out to you if you're drawing a blank right now. Irritability is a big one. Did you know 50% of people say irritability is their gauge that they have to watch? When you start snipping and sniping at people around you and they go like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And you're like, "What?" You're like, "Yeah, that that what attitude that you've got. Are you okay?" Some people, and by the way, on that note, here's a little rhyme for you. You can't be persuasive when you're abrasive. Little rhyme for you. You can't be persuasive when you're abrasive. So if you don't want to rub people the wrong way, we've got to take care and get that back to burning bright, away from burning out. Some people say anxiety, like you're typically a peace-filled person, but now you're worrying about everything. Maybe it is that you have lots of drive typically at work, like let's go. You're hungry to be a successful leader, and then all of a sudden you have no motivation and you're just like feel empty inside, like you just want to shut the lights off and just keep them off, right? These are some of the things. Let's see what you put over here in the chat. Thank you for being honest with the gauges that you're watching. We got imposter syndrome, wanting to avoid people, starting to stutter more. Yeah, it's like your brain can't like keep up, right? Irritable, impatient, disorganized. When my pile of paper gets so big that it starts falling over, there's another one. Thanks, Emily. The story I start telling myself, Carmen says, I don't have enough time. I get more anxious, irritated. You love people, so feeling like they're in the way is not normal. Yeah, good one. Irritable with your kids. Yeah, okay. These are great. You can put some more in there if you've got a gauge. And here's the deal, that the faster you recognize and correct it, the more your overall performance will improve, right? We all do these things, but if we can go like, whoa, I got to get out of the ditch right now. We can, start a new day tomorrow. We can sleep on it and have a better day tomorrow. That's why it's so important. Let me put on the screen here a thing called the stress curve. Hang on just a second. Let me find that. There it is. Okay. Here's my screen. Okay, this is a stress curve. Okay, so you see we've got too little stress, then we've got optimal stress, then too much stress, then the danger zone. That's burnout over here, okay? So when we have too little stress, what's going on here? Now, maybe you're like, Paul, I can't remember the last time I had too little stress. I hear you, right? But let's just say there was a time in your life where you had too little stress. What are some of the maladies that happen when you have too little stress? What's not good about having too little stress? Apathy. There we go. Christina, you're right. That's the number one answer there. You procrastinate maybe the few things you do have on your plate. Like, oh, I only got these few things, so I could put those off. Maybe you're a little bored, lack of direction, you're a little aimless. Some people look for another job. We're in this. Okay, we don't have to deal with that one too much. Then we get this zone called optimal stress. Like we have to have this thing called eustress, EU stress. Eustress is a good thing, right? Because we need that get up and go. We need that adrenaline, and we're just be like, let's go. We're gonna do well on this. And what happens when we're in the zone? Go ahead and put that in the chat. If you're in the zone, yes, Amos says to feel industrious. Yes, feel like we're adding value. We've got optimal stress. How else do you feel when you're in the zone? What are you feeling? What's your self-talk like when you're in the zone? Accomplished. Yeah. Yeah, there's that productivity of checking items off your list. You're solving problems. Feels like good leader, right? Like we're doing it. We are moving along. I know what I need to get done and I'm doing it. And I know how to do it, right? Don't have any dread about it. So high performance here. I still have some work-life balance here, right? And what I want to do and what I have to do are often the same thing in the optimal stress zone. But now we're going to cross over the line to too much stress. By the way, on this diagram, you know where the best place to be is? Just a little left of the midline. That is the optimal place where they call it, the flow state, where you're just like humming on all cylinders. You're busy, but you're like, yeah, I'm solving things, I'm raising money over here and I'm meeting with these people, making them feel like I'm fully present with them and I'm out in the community, being the face of the organization. You're just like click, 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 and it feels great, right? Optimal stress. But now we come over to the right side. Now some things are going to be like non-optimal, right? We're not in burnout yet, but what starts to break down here? How do you feel when you're in just too much stress zone? Go ahead and put that in the chat. So you're not completely in burnout, but things are starting to be, the gauge is starting to be triggered here. Less compassion. Yeah, seeing those people as an interruption. Like they just need to get over it, right? Procrastination happens here. Yeah. The feeling of ugh. Yeah, we start thinking like, I got not enough time. Ooh, building resentment. So we're not resentment yet, but it's starting to well up within us. Maybe you might start to feel like you're failing or not being able to keep up. Maybe you've lost confidence. You don't speak up quite as much or use your voice. You start like working all the time. And like Tom said, you start hating it a bit. And boy, you can't fit in your other priorities in life might happen here. And then we get to the danger zone, which is full on burnout. We've already talked about what that looks like. Emergency, piling on. You feel like you're in quicksand. You can't move. You're just triaging to survive. You're only dealing with like the most urgent thing that's in front of you. So what we're talking about in this first tip is introception. There's actually a word for it, which is reading your own gauges, and that will help you develop a better response to stress when it's at you. It actually has a word called introception, where you're looking inside, realizing what's going on, and making a better choice. There's another scale out there I could send you. It's called the Perceived Stress Scale from a company called Mind Garden. And so that also can give you a quick gauge on where your stress level is right now. So a lot of tools on just seeing where you're at. Okay, let us take our first break. Let's take a 10-minute break, everyone. It is almost noon. So let's come back at 12:10 if you put your cameras on when you are ready to rock and roll. Get a snack, walk around a little bit, and then we'll dive into habit number 2. Enjoy your break. All right, welcome back, everyone. I know we are bleeding over the lunch hour here, so if you got food in your mouth and want to be off camera, totally understand that. I just crammed something in really fast. But welcome back. They always say welcome back when you're a trainer because you had other options and you came back. Thank you. Okay, we are diving into, so far we have checked on how we're doing right now with burnout. We have talked about the things that lead to burnout, well, what not to do and burnout long term. And we just went into our first tip of recognizing the danger signs and gauges. From all of that, would you go to the chat and say, what's a takeaway so far? I'm just a big takeaway guy, so I'm always going to be asking you, what's resonating with you? It could be a quote that you liked. It could be something that you're like, you're going to go do that, right? You're actually going to just say it out loud in the chat and you're going to be like, all right, I'm doing that. It could be just a good reminder what you're already doing. It could be something you want to teach your team. It could be anything, right? But I would love for all of you to put one thing in the chat right now from our first hour together. What's resonating with you so far? What's sticking with you? I'm a big takeaway guy because, when you move, as soon as we're done with the training, you go back to life, right? And it's like, all right, what do I want to remember? And usually declaring it will help you get it done. All right, let's see what you're putting in the chat. Boundaries help you keep sane. And we want you sane, Christina. Awesome. Keep it up. Right. What else we got here? One takeaway from our first hour, if you're just coming back in. Self-care is stewardship. Oh, yeah. Got one life to live. What are you going to do with it? Right? We need to take care of ourselves so we can keep adding value. Barb says, love the saying, people lose their way when they lose their why, right? So we have to keep reminding ourselves and others the why of what we're doing. Purpose will help us avoid burnout. Okay, what else we got here? Check-ins multiple times a day. Yeah, check in with yourself. How are things going? Check in with other people. Venting is stress-inducing, but processing is healthy and positive. For sure, Emily. So good. Hope we all have that person you can go to help you process for growth. Who else has a takeaway from our first hour together? Let's see. That's a question from Tom. Do you say beavers analytical tend to have higher stress levels? No, not necessarily. It's just that we tend to overthink things if we have that beaver analytical style, so we can put more pressure on ourselves because we're just overthinking every option. So not necessarily we have more stress, but sometimes we can do it to ourselves, right? We can shoot ourselves in the foot. Thanks for that question. Okay, if you're continuing typing, keep doing that, but let's move on to tip number 2. Number 1 was recognize those danger signs so we can self-correct. Number 2 is schedule a personal retreat. What is that? Personal retreat. This is me time we're talking about here. When's the last time you had me time that wasn't at home, wasn't at work? It was just free from any other commitments. It was just you in solitude, whether you're by a body of water or up in the mountains or just somewhere at a park and there was nobody else around. It was just you, so you could just think, right? Have that focused thinking time to just be. This is really necessary. If you have kids, it's hard, right? If you have a big family, because you'd have to somehow make a deal like, hey, honey, I'll let you do this if you let me do this, right? But we both need to have time away from other commitments. So while you're there in this me time, you can really take stock. You could say, who am I becoming at my core? where am I now? Where do I want to go? Like, am I in a good trajectory, or is this going to take me into the quicksand, right? That's what we can do during this time. I used to take these all the time. And I would go to beautiful places and just have these full days off. It's hard to do that nowadays with lots of clients, but I still have on my calendar monthly review time. And I do try to get out of the house to do that. And when I honor that with myself, I feel a lot better. When I don't honor it, I feel like, oh, it's another month of a layer that I don't get a chance to do a self check. You do get solid insights when you're in solitude, and a clear perspective can be found from a different vantage point. You're like, well, I could do that right here in your home office. Well, you could, but it's really not giving you a different vantage point to look at your life. So that's why it's good. Even if you go to your library, at least it's quiet there, and that would give you some solitude. Just be creative. Where can you go? Some of you like the ambient noise of a coffee shop, or something like that. But what do you do when you're on these personal retreats? Well, you can do self-assessments if you want it. You're like, oh, that doesn't sound like fun. Others of you think like that would be a lot of fun to do that, like a DISC survey, like the animal one, emotional intelligence, strength finder. You've probably done some of these in your life. You're just trying to sort of like, who am I at my core again? I need sort of a refresh of who I am. What are my tendencies? Keep building my self-awareness in this season of life. You could also write a personal mission statement which grounds you. A personal mission statement is sort of that thing that shows why you're on the planet. So I told one of my clients I had a personal mission statement, and he was so creative. I don't know if you remember in high school, or I think it was probably earlier than that, middle school or early elementary. There was this concept called diagramming. I don't know if today's kids do this, diagramming, but it's like subjects and verbs and adjectives and adverbs, right? And then you put it in this like diagram where every word has a spot. So my client actually put it on a t-shirt for me. I know you can't see it because it's pretty small, but he diagrammed my mission statement for me, which is to add value to people through equipping encouraging words, servant leader actions, and a contagious passion to honor God with my life. He actually put it on a t-shirt. It's actually too small, so I can't wear it. So I use it as a prop when I get to speak. And I just think that is grounding for me to have a personal mission statement. So then when an opportunity comes at my life, I could say, does it fit that? And if not, it bounces. And I have to say no. If it actually like, do you want to speak for this webinar today? That fits that exactly. And I let it into my life and I let my energy out then for that. So personal mission statements are really cool. It's the sweet spot of your strengths and your values. You might have to do a values exercise if you haven't done that in a while. Like, what are your core values? I could send you a sheet of those, but you can probably Google them. If you don't reconnect to this, you might be living out somebody else's script for your life. Could be your boss or board. It could be you're still living out your parents' script, even though you're an adult. It could be your partner's goal, a script for your life. And it's really important to get grounded on what makes you unique, right? If you live out other people's script, you're going to burn out. Uh, Cute little stories. There was a rabbi moving in the medieval times, and he was going from town to town, encouraging people, and he got lost. And he was wandering through the forest, and he stumbles upon a soldier that says, "Who are you? And where are you going?" And the rabbi sort of was startled for a minute, and then he thought to himself, "How much do you get paid, soldier?" He's like, "4 drachmas." He's like, you know what? If you come to my door every day and ask me those 2 questions, I will double your salary. He wanted him to come to his door and say, who are you and where are you going? Metaphorically, right? And isn't this great when we actually take the time to do that? How do you find the success for yourself? And that's what we can do in solitude. Another thing you can do in solitude is develop your ideal day. Okay, so let's do this activity together. If you got fast fingers ready in the chat. Okay, so this is the ideal day. So this isn't like wake up to the beach, play golf for half the day, eat the buffet, go to bed. I'm not talking about that ideal day, right? I'm talking about like an ideal day, work day that you can actually feel good about And you could hit this target, right? Okay, so here we go. Everybody in the chat, what's your ideal wake up time? What's your ideal wake up time in the morning? Go ahead and throw it in the chat really fast. Fast fingers. Ideally, what time do you want to wake up? It's not ridiculous for you to put this number in there. And you'll feel like, all right, I'm ready to attack the day. All right, you get to see what your colleagues will say, see how you compare to them. No, we're not comparing. Okay, this is you. Okay. Next thing, what would you want to do before work? So the time between waking up and leaving for the office, is there something productive or relational that you would want to do? Is it meditation, prayer, good breakfast? Usually coffee is in there. Is it connecting with your family? Is it exercise? What is something that ideally you would like to do between wake up time and leaving for work? What would you like to do? Nice. All right, we got some people doing it already. We got other people that want this. This is setting you up for a great day. There are actually there's a whole book on like what successful people do before breakfast. I'm like, I don't know how you get a whole book out of that, but there are some really good things that some of you are putting in here that are like, yes, this is what you want to really set your course and intention for the day. Yeah. Devotions and meditation and medication and coffee and yeah, some good stuff. Okay. Ideally, what time do you want to arrive at work, everyone? Again, fast fingers, just throw it in the chat. Ideally, what time do you want to land in your chair at work or your home office? You want to start going at what time? Fast, fast, fast. Nice. Some of you are getting jealous at each other. No, just kidding. This is great. Putting it down. You're declaring it. You're declaring it out there. On a great day, this is what you're doing. You're waking up. You're doing this thing that's setting you up for the day. You're landing in your chair, ready to work. Okay. Now, what is something that you would rather do in the morning at work versus the afternoon? Okay. If you could tackle it right away in the morning, every morning, what kinds of tasks would you put in the morning versus the afternoon? You could put one or two things here, but what's a morning thing that you would like to bang out at work versus procrastinate into the afternoon? This is going to be unique to you. Like you get this done, it's going to feel great. Get it over with. We got client meetings, we got billing, case notes from the prior day. Yep, for each of us, it's different. But what do you want to get done in that morning block? All right, now let's talk about the afternoon block. What's something that it would be way better for you to put off till the afternoon to do? Maybe your energy's starting to wane a little bit in the afternoon. You're like, these are the kinds of things I would rather do in the afternoon on an ideal day. Because I got all these priorities done at the beginning. Unless you're an afternoon person, you're probably waning in the afternoon. Yeah, admin work, sort of that filler task stuff. Yep, good. What else? Afternoon types of tasks. Meeting with folks. Yeah, Shane, a lot of people say that the relational connections sort of bring the energy back up because left to yourself, you might procrastinate. Potential client interviews. Yeah, more relational stuff. Anybody else do? Yeah, home visits is relational. Office staff, yeah. And some of those paperwork kinds of things you just want to get done with. Good, good. Okay, I forgot to put on the screen here, but what time do you want to be done on your ideal day? What's your go home time, your hard stop? You're like, I want to go home at this time on my ideal day. Ideally, what time do you want to go home every day? Throw that in the chat. Ideally, what time do you want to go home every day? Carmen, you're like, my brain says 3:30. Probably need to listen to your brain. All right. You're thinking to yourself, how often am I hitting that target, right? Okay, at home, there's an evening block of time. I won't put this here, but a lot of my clients don't want to just watch TV at night every night. They get in that rut. Oftentimes people like to have one thing that they get done, whether that's like start taxes, or do dishes, or come up with meal planning for the week, or it could just be something besides TV that's relational, connecting with your family, texting your family, whatever that is, right? And then finally, we've got bedtime. So, everyone, one more time in the chat, what time do you need to go to bed in order to get up at your ideal wake up time? Most people need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. What time do you need to go to bed to get up and have enough rest to get to your wake up time? Boop, boop, boop. Okay. All right. So what you just put in here are your priorities for having an ideal day. Now you think to yourself, how often am I hitting this target? Or what's one of these things that I need to work on first to get closer to my ideal day as possible? Because that's going to help me avoid burnout. I'm going to burn brighter when I do what I just said in the chat. You've said it. If you do these things, you're going to burn brighter. If you keep hedging on all or some of these, you're going to be closer on the burnout side, right? So it'd be good to actually think about what's one step I want to get better at. I mean, I really think when it comes to time management, it's a whole nother seminar, but you've got 21 time blocks a week. You got a morning, afternoon, and evening block every week, right? And you got 3 of those times 7, it's 21 time blocks. So how are you going to use every one of them intentionally? Right? At work, we've got the morning and afternoon blocks. So that takes out 5 days times 2 blocks, that's 10. That leaves 11 discretionary time blocks left in your life. Sounds like a lot, actually. But some of those we're going to just put in rest. Some of those we might put in church or family or hobbies. And then we've got to get stuff done around our house. We've got to mow lawns and do dishes and take care of eye appointments and oil changes and all that, right? And so if we can be more intentional about those 11 time blocks outside of work as well as the 10 that are inside of work, we're going to feel like we're burning bright. And we don't default back to the stuff that feels like, I'm feeling a little lazy again, 5 days in a row now, and then we don't, then it feels like all that stuff is backing up in our life, leading to burnout. All right, way to go. Let's do number 3. Delegate routine tasks, as many of them as you can, and practice empowerment. Delegate as many routine tasks as possible and practice empowerment instead of micromanagement, right? You can delegate and then just be all in people's business and over their shoulder, and that's not helpful to either one of you, right? So empowerment is the way to go so that you can stay on your main things. There are things that you have been hired or promoted or elected to because of your skills and your ability to lead. So your organization, your team needs you at 15,000 feet or 30,000 feet because you're the only one that can do that, right? You're the only one. So I put here on the screen is you got to delegate the other things that are not just you, right? The little rhyme, delegate anything besides just you can do. So I know you're willing to copy things on the copier and sling chairs, and do all the tasks. But at some level, there's nobody else on the team that's paid or hired to do the high level leadership stuff. That's you. You have to do those things. And that's why you have to offload some other things, right? If you don't, you feel like this game. Anybody remember this game? Twister, right? I bought the game just to show it at this moment when I teach this seminar because I had one client actually say, Paul, I feel like my life is Twister. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I just feel like I got my left hand on this one, my right hand over here, my leg over here, and they're crossed over. And after a while, I just fall over. because it's unsustainable, right? To torque my body in all these different positions. So unless you really like the game of Twister, most of us probably can't play it today because it's hard to twist in those different ways without pulling a muscle. This is what happens as a leader when we don't delegate. We get ourselves in all these deformed positions, trying to do all these things at once, and then the spinner goes again, and you're like, I can't move it again. There's no more hours in my day. So please get in the habit of asking yourself if what you're doing can be handled by someone else. Could it be handled by someone else? Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes it's a yes. Tom asked, does delegating lead to passing the buck? Okay, it's a great question, Tom, because sometimes we delegate just to get it off of our plate. Sometimes, though, I think it's great to delegate because delegation develops other people. In fact, that's a complete sentence. Delegation develops. Subject and a verb right there. And here's a little side, I'll take a little side jaunt here. Oftentimes, the less you do, Andy Stanley says, the more you accomplish because you're doing the main things. The less you do, the more you enable others to accomplish because it is truly developing them. And now it builds their capacity and their confidence. And now you're all humming on all cylinders when we do that. So we keep the tasks that add the most value and we give some tasks away. This will allow you to focus on your priorities. You pour out some of what you've got so you can increase your capacity. I know one leader that says, like, strive to be bored at work. And I'm like, what? He's like, well, you're never going to be bored, but if you give enough away, you're going to be able to receive the other tasks that continually come in that only you can do. I'm like, okay, now I'm tracking with you. I'm not going to actually be bored, but I need to be able to receive some of the tasks that only I can do. So here's just a good reminder of when you do a delegation. Bob Beals says, think about these questions. And again, I can send these to you because they're not in your handout. Exactly what needs to be done. So I have leaders that actually put on their whiteboard all of their tasks, like their big projects, and then they break them into smaller tasks because that's what they're going to give away. They're going to give away some of those tasks. Why does it need to be done? I mean, we shouldn't even be doing it if we can't answer that question, right? We lose our way when we lose our why. When does it need to be done, right? Most of these things have deadlines, and if not, we have to set an internal deadline because it still needs to be done. Who is the best person to do it? So once we've figured out the task that we could give away and delegate, we now think about who can I match this with? It's going to be a growth thing for them, or they're already gifted in it. They're probably better than us in that. Or we're going to train them to be better than us at this. How well must it be done? This is the good enough principle. Like, what does a win look like in this area? What does done look like in this area? If we don't give people that crystal clear picture, they're always going to be wondering if they're pleasing you or not. How much budget is available if you give them some leeway on spending money? What resources or training is needed? So maybe you're not giving things away because you're like, they're not skilled enough. I can't trust them to do that. Okay, then let's fix that, right? Let's get them some training from you or others that will help them be able to get it done in the future. Otherwise, you stay in this delegation doom loop, right? Which is like, I don't give it to them because they're not trained. So then I don't give it to them. So then they're not trained more. And so then I don't give it to them. And we get in this, they call it the delegation doom loop. So at some point, we have to get out of that loop and train them. What reports do I need from the person who does it? Okay, maybe you don't delegate because you're afraid of losing control. Sort of a control freak, maybe just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. And so when you hand it off, you're like, what? Then I don't know everything that's going on, and I'm responsible. I know you are. So build in a reporting structure where they have to come back to you and tell you what's going on. Put it on them, by the way, or else why delegate it? Because then you're always thinking about it. Who else may need to be aware of this? And you're going to tell the team who's got the ball on what, so they don't step on each other's toes. And if this isn't done, what difference will it make? Ooh, that's a good question. If this task didn't get done, will anybody know? I mean, or if we just let that just sort of expire, will we have more time to do other things? That might be like 0.1% of stuff, but you never know. It might free up your schedule. Who else has got a tip about delegation that you could put in the chat? Anybody else have something in that conversation that you make sure that we talk about when you're delegating something, or a reminder to yourself about delegation? You can put that over in the chat. As you're doing that, I like the little phrase, turn the rat race into a relay race. So I got my baton here, got my props, right? Got my baton. A lot of good metaphor of a relay race and delegation, right? You both have to stay in your lane. There are rules to do. You both are moving while you are delegating, right? Because you're moving so fast in your day and they're moving fast. You got to hand it off while you're moving, right? You got a little zone, or you've got only a limited amount of time to do a delegation. So I like the relay race metaphor for delegation because it is really important. The team's success is your success. That might be a reframe. And here's another reframe. The measure of your leadership is how much you can get done, not by yourself, but through others. When Andy Stanley said that, I was like, whoa, that's cool. The measure of your leadership is not how much I can get done. I'm pretty productive. It's how much I can get done through other people, because that's multiplication. It's not just addition, it's multiplication, because I'm still doing stuff and they're doing stuff at the same time. We are rising together, and that's pretty awesome. Okay, any other tips there? Nobody else has any other tips of delegation? Okay, so I've got some more tools on that. Just reach out if you are interested. But let's press on to number 4. Way to burn bright is to combat stress through establishing recovery time. Recovery time. Got the word recovery in your name, right? So this is you recovering. So I was at a seminar once where they had some volunteer hold up a glass like this, and they said, how much liquid is still in there, right? People are like 2 ounces, 3 ounces, 1 ounce, right? And he had his arm out to the side, and then he said, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, if I have him keep standing there with his arm up like that for 5 minutes, he's going to get a little annoyed. Like, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to hold this anymore. If I have him do that for a whole hour, he's going to have a sore arm tomorrow. And if I have him hold this up for 8 hours, we're going to have to call the paramedics because his arm is going to go numb, right? And then I have the volunteer sit down. So the glass of water principle is, it doesn't matter how much is on your plate. It's how long you hold it without a break. Doesn't matter how much is on your plate. It's how long you hold it without a break. Some of you are more productive than others of you on this call today. We're not comparing that. No, doesn't matter. We're all wired differently. However, doesn't matter how much is on our plate. It's how much we hold it without a break. You could have huge capacity and never say no and just keep taking more on. You need breaks for sure. Some of you might be overwhelmed pretty easily. Like, you got your set thing, a routine. Now one more thing puts you over the edge. You need a break to make sure that you can handle the things that are on your plate. We all need breaks. And when do we take breaks? Well, first of all, we need our weekends. We need to have true rest on our weekends so that you're not recovering from your weekend. Anybody recovering from their weekend today? What does that mean? That means you did too much over the weekend and you didn't recover. So now it's Monday and you're actually in the negative. You have to wait now 5 more days till you get another weekend, and you didn't get a chance to replenish your batteries. And that's never great, right? So we need to take at least 1 day completely off, hopefully 2. Usually 1 day is an errands day, catch up with life day. So I think we need 1 good day of rest. And to truly perform at optimal level, your body needs white space. They have these places you can make these fake posters. Here's burnout. That special day sometimes in your career when you figure out that 40 hours a week pays the same as 80 hours a week. So you can go to this fakeposters.com and make these motivational posters that are like sarcastic. So that's that. We need to take 1 day off definitely on our weekends. What else does this mean? If you have a stressful interaction, And we all have those. Like you have to let somebody go, or you've got to kick somebody out, or you didn't get the grant funding that you needed, right? That's a bad day. I think we need to go to our happy place after a stressful interaction in order to recover from that bad news. It's like a baby grieving. So I was a school principal. I think I told somebody that last time. And we had to let a teacher go once in a while. It's a very bad day when you have to let a teacher go. So my vice principal and I would do the dirty deed, and have to let them go. And oftentimes they fought back and it was ugly and it was just sad, right? So then we would, instead of dumping on our family at home, we would drive across town to a coffee shop where nobody knew us and they didn't know, we didn't know them. And we just went blah. We did literally the venting and the processing, and we just got it all out so that we wouldn't dump on our family when we got home because they didn't deserve all that stress, right? So we need a place where we can do some little grieving, and not dump on our family. So that's the happy place principle. A third thing is we need vacations. You got to take your vacation. Some people store up their vacations for years and years and years and never take them. And I've been at companies where they've actually forced you to take your vacations, or they would say, you lose it. So then I was like, all right, now I got to take it. I actually sort of like that because it's like we need to take vacations. When should you take them? I think it's good to take it after a ramped up season. Like maybe it's the end of the fiscal year for you, or you've got a huge fundraising event, or there's a time where you bring in lots of people. That would be a stressful event. It'd be good to take a vacation after that. So you all have different times that you need to think about, like, where is that big thing that I need to schedule a vacation afterward? And then I'm also going to throw in here to unplug from electronics for a period of time. I know it's like, I feel naked, Paul, if you say that. I know. When was the last time you left your house without your phone and you didn't go back to get it? Like never, right? That actually happened to me last week, and I actually kept driving and I was like, what do I need my phone for? That would be devastating. But I actually went to the destination and came home without my phone. I know it sounds insane. But what I'm saying is there a time of your day, every day, where you put the phone on the charger in another room and you don't look at it from the hours of blank to blank? I'm not going to tell you what those are. But if for you, when do you need to recover from technology, the phone, and all that it represents? Your email on that phone, your Slack, your Microsoft Teams, whatever you're using. Some people don't even put it on their phone, but they give themselves a break from that. What's that break for you? If anybody has some of those boundaries already, go ahead and put it in the chat. Like you don't check your phone from blank to blank. Let's find out if anybody has some boundaries right now when it comes to your phone and your tablet and any other electronics. Anybody do that? You've got a boundary to unplug from electronics, or at least put it aside. You got maybe a digital Sabbath, they're called, where you take a break for a big chunk of time. People are like, no, I need that, Paul, but I'm not committing to it. That's fair enough. These are just ideas for you. The point is that restlessness comes from resting less. Restlessness comes from resting less. So all these principles I'm giving you are trying to help you rest a little bit more. Okay. Darcy threw something in there. All right. A few of you have a couple boundaries here. That's great. You can take a look at those. All right. These are good. These are good little rules that you've come up with. A couple of you. That's nice. Yep. At the dining table after certain times. Yeah. You're just like, no more. No more. Drawing the line. Awesome. All right. Let's go on to our next one. So that's more of the macro taking a rest. Let's go micro, which is number 5, to step back for a brief recharge when you feel your gauge redlining. So we talked about gauges. What's redlining? It's a term given by a personal trainer who looked at me and said, Paul, it looks like you're going to throw up. Like, why don't you go get some air? I was huffing and puffing, after a workout, and they call that redlining. So redlining is that when your gauge is starting to, or you're starting to get irritable, you're starting to get dropping balls. We need to push away and step back for a brief recharge during the day. It's like when I'm going on a hike, some of you might be hikers. You know, we're hiking to a prize, usually like a waterfall or something really cool, a view. Now you can just keep hiking for hours and hours, or you could stop halfway through. And when I sit on a rock and have a snack and rest my legs, I actually have more, fortitude to get to the prize at the end, rather than just banging it out and going for another couple hours without a break, even though I really want to get there. The book, The Breakout Principle, says there is research to this, that a break of any duration, you'll come back from fresher, more alert, more creative. So that could be a vacation for a week, or it could be a 5-minute mental health break. You're going to come back fresher if you take a break of any duration. It's hitting the refresh button in your life. You know, on your computer where you hit refresh, what does it do? It makes everything current, right? When you hit the refresh button with a break, it makes everything current. You're like, but Paul, it's the grind. Yeah, but when you grind something, what happens? Right? When you grind coffee beans or you put something in a blender, right? It becomes dust, it becomes puree, right? So I'm not encouraging you to grind it out. I'm encouraging you to take a break. So we're trying to avoid burnout here. So schedule some times during your day to refocus and reevaluate your priorities and see how you're doing. Right? It's sort of like you're shaking off the stress. I've got a couple of dogs, and when they get up after a while, they shake it off, right? Get their fur all fluffy again, right? We have to do that once in a while, sort of shake off the stress of the last couple hours, take a break, and get back in it. We need to take that mental vacation. Some say to take it once an hour. Now, don't tell your boss you're taking a mental vacation, right? They might get a little concerned, but you could take one. You could take some time at the end of every hour and just check it out. Say how you're doing. I think there's really three, seasons of energy, right? You're going to rest, which we talked about. That's your soul. You're going to do results. That's your main things. And then you're going to have response. That's the other stuff, the admin stuff that you have to do. But we definitely need this rest. So I put it first. Okay, what are these little letters down here? D, D, W, W, A, A. This is a reminder to divert daily. This is your me time every day. Withdraw weekly. This is taking at least one day off on your weekend. And then abandon annually. This is having a retreat time sometime in your year where it's just you and you're doing a personal retreat. So divert daily, withdraw weekly, and abandon annually. And if you're mindful during these times, you're going to be burning bright. All right, number 6. Structure your days strategically. Structure your days strategically. So sort of a time management one here. Before you even get out of your car or step into your home office in the morning, think about how you're going to measure success today. Like what's gonna make this a really great day? And I like to pick 3 priorities for the day before I even start it. I pick 3 priorities today for tomorrow. And then I shut the light off on today. I call this the daily preview, where you think about your 3 priorities for what would make tomorrow a good day. And then that's my plan. And then I shut the light off on today. So when I get there in the morning, I'm like, oh, I know my 3 priorities are already. I don't have to look at my to-do list and re-triage it, right? Like, no, I know my big 3. Because if you have more than 3 priorities, you really have no priorities. Priority means top. So really there should only be 1 if priority means top, right? But we're Americans, we can get 3 done, right? So we have priorities. And I still think if we have more than 3, our brain can remember 3 things in short-term storage. So I think 3 is a good one. Like what would be a bummer today if I didn't get these 3 things done? Or what would be a win if I did get these 3 things? That's what I say to myself. Doug Field says, busyness does not equal effectiveness. Have you ever gone through a whole day and you're like, I was moving the whole day, but I didn't get anything done? Boy, is that frustrating. Oh, It's like I wasn't slacking. Like I was working really hard, but I got nothing to the finish line. I got nothing crossed off my list. And that's why we sometimes find ourselves on a treadmill of life and we don't have just a few priorities that we can get crossed off. Now, there will always be people interruptions. We talked about this earlier. In fact, I even put on the back of my door for a season of life, interruptions are my work. That's what I put on the back of my door. So someone would poke their head in the door and I would think to myself like, ah, interruption, right? And then I would see right by their face this sign that says interruptions are my work. And I would go, come on in. How can I help you? It was a reminder to myself. Now, if you're a productive person, you get this. You know, you're like, I'm on track, and now this person is going to take me off track. But you know what? This is what we're here for. We're here for people, right? People are not just someone to discard, right? And shuffle on their way. We are here to help solve problems and help other people solve their problems. However, this is an avoiding burnout seminar. So I will say that we have to also be careful with our energy to not give it all away so there isn't enough time to get our main things done. So the daily preview is the last thing you do today is you look ahead at tomorrow and you pick 3 things that you want to get done for tomorrow. When you get good at that, you do a weekly preview. That's on Friday. You look ahead at next week and you sort of survey the week and go like, what are my big rocks for the week? What are the big things I want to get done? And you can still have time to get out of something, or you're double booked. You can send a delegate or whatever, right? You can carve out some blocks of time for your priorities. So that's called the weekly preview and the daily preview. A couple other things I'll add on this number 6. Go with your biorhythms to match your sharpest times mentally with your priority tasks, or to just think and be creative. Okay. It's not time management, really. It's energy management, because time's the equal opportunity employer, right? We all have the same amount of time. But energy management is within our control at some level. So are you a morning person, an afternoon person, or an evening person? Okay. How many of you are morning people? You can either raise your hand or do the little emoji or put that in the chat. Morning people. You like, you get up in the morning, you're like, let's go, right? Morning people. Okay. How many of you are night owls? Like midnight to 2, you get another wave of energy and you're like, okay, I'm a night owl. You found a way to stretch your day. Wonderful. Probably doesn't help you at work too much, but you found a way to stretch your day. Okay. Any afternoon people here? You're like, good 1 o'clock meeting. You're like, by then I'm awake. There's usually not very many. Oh, I did see someone put their thumbs up. That's good. Usually I'm the only one. Like, good 1 o'clock meeting, right? Everybody else is like, ugh, that's the dark hole of learning. Yeah. How many never people? You didn't raise your hand for anything that I just said. No, just kidding. You're never on your game. Just kidding. Okay. It's good to know this because you want to match your thinking, your creative time with your priority tasks in that window of time when you're the sharpest mentally and emotionally. It's going to feel like you're getting it done twice as fast. If you put it in the weakest time, or the dullest time, I should say, mentally, it's going to take twice as long, right? So why don't we do that and try to match that thing up with your energy? You can actually track this if you wanted. Like, you just get a simple spreadsheet and say, how do I feel at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., right? And just start on a scale 1 to 5. 5's like super high energy, and a 1's like, ugh, can barely keep my eyes open, need a nap. And you could track this for several days and come up with this. If you don't know, most of it sounds like you know where your sweet spot is when it comes to energy. I personally, again, I might be speaking in on you here, but I personally don't want to check email in the first 90 minutes. I know you're like, well, I can't do that. And I know if your job is to respond to emergencies, like I totally get it. But if you're in control of your calendar, they say, the day people say that when you check your email right away, you start going down the rabbit hole of crisis and stuff, your stress level goes up, and now you're probably not going to get your priorities done because you put everybody else first. Because you know what email is? Everybody else's priorities. That's what email is, unless you started it, right? So unless you have to, I would encourage you to start on those priorities first before you do everybody else's priorities. So I'm just throwing that out there. To have that quiet in the morning, just sort of picture that at the beginning of your day. The second thing I'll say here is to evaluate your pace and to determine your ability to keep up with the stress of life. We're trying to burn bright and not burn out. So how is your pace these days? Are you keeping up, or do you feel like you're on top of a tsunami? It's ready to crash onto the beach, right? You're just being carried by life. A quote from a long time ago said, Carol Halsey said, the 10% of time that you take to plan your activities carefully in advance, that 10% of time will save you 90% of the effort involved in undertaking and completing the most important tasks in your workday. So you're really saving time. When you plan and get your schedule out there and you honor and obey your calendar, you're actually saving so much time than doing that reaction thing and just being carried by the tsunami of life over. So I encourage you to plan, because you're going to save time when you do that. The third thing I'll say on this point is to set measurable targets, or set realistic expectations, I guess is a better way of saying that. There has to be some letting go of the preconceived notion that everything's going to go the way you planned it today, right? We know it doesn't work out that way most days. So I'm going to do my best to plan, but then I have to hold my day loosely and go like, yeah, but this person is going to pop in. Someone's crying in my office now. And then, my kid just called from school and needs me to pick them up because they're sick or whatever, right? Just things happen and I have to let go so I don't get so tense and so feel like I'm being unproductive that it ruins my day. And remember, the negative response to stress a long time leads to burnout. So we have to let that go, and that's going to let some of that anxiety go. If I don't have realistic expectations of what I'm going to get done, I get anxious. I'm just talking me here, right? I may get 10 things more done than the average person, but I didn't get all of them done. And so I beat myself up and go, I didn't get all of them done. I should just be celebrating the things I did get done. They call this the gap and the gain, right? The gap is always saying like, oh, there's so many things I didn't get done. The gain is looking back and going, look at all the things I did get done. It's a mindset shift that somebody might need that word today, right? The gap, what I didn't get done, or the gain, what I did get done. If you change that, it's a lot more burning bright than burning out. All right, time for one more break, everybody. It is 2 minutes to the hour. So again, if you would come back at 10 after 1 with your camera on, ready to go, we will wrap up with our other tips. Enjoy your break. Okay, we are ready for our third hour together. Going to give you the rest of the tips for burning bright and not burning out. And then at the end, finding out from you what your takeaways were. But let's do takeaways again right now from our last hour. So what we covered in our last hour in reverse order, we talked about how you structure your day strategically, your biorhythms and your pace. We talked about the brief recharges during the year, or during the day, excuse me, your taking your breaks. We talked about recovery time, which is weekends, vacations, boundaries on your electronics. We talked about delegation, practicing empowerment to develop other people. And then we started that hour with your personal retreat, taking some me time in solitude to sort of reassess your life and your trajectory and who you're becoming. And again, remembering that you need that solitude in order to think and take stock of your life. So if you'd all go over to the chat and put one takeaway from that hour, again, a quote that you liked, something you want to go do, something you want to make a sign and have yourself remember, something you want to teach your team. What did you like from that last hour as a takeaway? You all put one in the chat. All right. Shane's starting us off with the personal retreat time to reflect on himself and the direction your life is going, who you are and where you're going. Great, thank you. Emily, doesn't matter how much is on your plate. What matters is how long you hold it without a break. Oh yeah. Linda, no email. Yeah, just take care of it all. Just wipe it all out. Just delete everything. No email. The perspective of not checking emails first thing, get pulled down the rabbit hole every day. Yeah, you may want to put up a little bit of a boundary there. Not that you want to be unresponsive, you just want to get your priorities done first, which makes you feel like you have a little bit of control over your schedule, and that will help you avoid burnout. Anybody else has a takeaway from that hour? Put in the chat. Yes, not how much on the list, but when you take a break. And it's hard. Many of us eat lunch at our desk, right? We don't take even that break at lunch to think about something other than work. Routine for yourself, filling your cup first. Great. Great. We're going to continue to talk about that, Darcy. Thank you. All right, let's move on to if you have a problem with impulse scheduling. You know, impulse scheduling is that's when you just say yes to appointments without even thinking, right? It's like somebody wants to meet with you, great, come on in, right? Somebody wants to fill your calendar, somebody wants you to go speak at something, somebody wants you to represent them at Rotary Club, you know, and you're just like, yes, yes, yes. And you don't even think about it, right? That's called impulse scheduling. Then this one is for you. And it is number 7, establish and enforce boundaries. Establish and enforce boundaries. This is basically the saying no principle for burning bright and avoiding burnout. I got a little Dilbert cartoon here. It's like the CEO comes up to Dilbert and says, how about we meet at lunchtime? He's like, no, that's when I eat my lunch. How about we meet over dinner? And he goes, no. And before you ask about breakfast. So it's true. Like people will take whatever you give them, right? And you have to make sure that you say no to protect the main priorities that you have. So this, of course, this word boundaries comes from that book Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend that they wrote, I want to say it was early 90s. It's been around a while. And the way they illustrate it is like you've got your house, you've got a picket fence around your yard, and that like represents your energy. And there's a fence or a gate that allows your energy to go out and allows other people and their issues in to your life. So boundaries are the gate around your property, and only you control the gate. And some people have a wind-blown gate, right? And they let everything into their life, and they let all their energy and time out without ever checking it at the door. And so they lack boundaries. And then eventually they wake up resentful or angry. And it's like, why did I allow everyone to do that? Because usually that's a pleaser kind of a person that doesn't control the gate. Some people have a huge block wall with gun turrets and guard dogs, and you can't get into their life for nothing, right? They've probably been wounded somewhere in the past, and you don't even know if they're in a relationship or if they've got a dog or whatever. I mean, you know nothing about them because they're like stone cold. And that's sad because we want to be transparent as leaders as well. So those are the two extremes, windblown and then, barbed wire kind of deal when it comes to boundaries. But it's really important to have some boundaries, or else we're never going to get our priorities done and we're going to burn out. So at some point, we have to have a mantra like this: I can only do what I can do. I can't do any more. And sometimes I'll have to say stuff like to myself, like, I am done. Like, this day is over. I have no more energy left. I'm only gonna mess things up if I keep going. And what we have to do to remind ourselves of this is that when we're saying no, you're actually saying yes to higher priorities and tasks. So I have here the no button. Okay, this was in one of my clients' offices, that as soon as someone would walk into his office,
No, no, no.
he would hit the no button and everybody would laugh, right? Because they haven't even said anything yet. He was already telling them no, right? And so that was really funny, and they would all laugh. And so I also bought the yes button.
Yeah, yeah, baby.
So, and I also have the maybe button, by the way. You can get these on Amazon. And the purpose of these buttons is to remind us that when you say no, you're saying yes to higher priority people and tasks. So if you have trouble saying no, you have to remind yourself of this, because it's like you have to protect one yes with 1,000 no's, one resource says, because it's just really hard to defend your yes. In fact, if you want to get better at this, the book is called The Power of a Positive No by William Ury, U-R-Y. The Power of a Positive No will help you with this. And I'll even tell you what the first chapter is about. First chapter is find your yes. Like, once you know your core values, what you stand for, what's most important in your life and for your vision for your life, then you protect it with no's, right? Those are the things that are those boundaries for your life. So this is a whole nother workshop, of course, but just some quick tips on it is, first of all, figure out what you want. Figure out and tell other people what you want and what you need, because they can't read your mind, right? They're always going to just take from you until you tell them, like, oh, I need some quiet time. I need to get this project done. I got to do the budget. I still need to, see my family. Whatever those needs are that you have, you got to figure it out and then tell other people. Then throughout the day, you're asking yourself, is this really my responsibility? Or is this on someone else's side of the street? I had a counselor once, and she would use that phrase, side of the street, because oftentimes we are overweeding somebody else's lawn while our house is on fire. So that was the metaphor she would use. Like, we're meddling in other people's drama. And it's like, what a waste of time when we got our own stuff that we got to take care of back here. So that's why it's important to think about, is this even my responsibility, or should I just stay out of that one? Like, that's not going to be good for me. Then you have to tell people where your threshold is when they ask you for your time. How do you evaluate your bandwidth? How do you evaluate, like, how much energy that you have? I would encourage you to have something that just flows right out of your mouth. Like, I don't have margin right now in my life, or that would put me over the edge. Well, probably not that one, but something that sounds like you, where it just flows out of your mouth, and it's like an automatic no, but you say it in such a gentle way. There's no big explanation, but it's like, yeah, my plate is just too full. I'm so sorry that I can't take that on right now. And of course, you can help them maybe get to their goal a different way, or maybe you can delay the timing and say, I can't right now, but after budget season, I could help you. And maybe you delay the no, or maybe your no is just like, I could take this much of this project, but I can't take all the rest. I can't lead it, right? I can do this. I can evaluate the proposal, but I can't write the proposal, and I can't present the proposal. So maybe you say no, and you say yes to just a little piece of it. But the point here is to not say yes without evaluating that activity's impact on your wellness. I'm a joiner. That means that I like to say yes automatically. I do that impulse scheduling thing once in a while, and I have to pause and filter it by, do I have the bandwidth for this? I'm not great at this. I'm still working on it. I even bought a mug that said stop volunteering on it. I know it sounds pretty harsh, but sometimes I need to drink out of that mug, the stop volunteering mug, to remind me not to raise my hand, let other people raise their hand. I don't have to always be the one that leads everything. Here's a great quote on this by a French guy that I can't say his name. Greatness of soul consists not so much in soaring high and pressing forward as in knowing how to adapt and limit oneself. We've got limits, and we just have to acknowledge that we have limits. Even though most of us are high capacity people, we still have to realize limits are for a good reason. The temporary discomfort of saying no is better than temporary ease if it averts permanent failure. Yeah, I don't like the discomfort of telling somebody no, because I struggle with being a pleaser sometimes. But it's going to be way better than going in the tank and being resentful later and getting angry or frustrated because it was my fault. I should have said no. Another book recommend on this topic is Boundaries for Leaders by the same authors that wrote the book Boundaries, and Boundaries for Children, and Boundaries with Teens, and Boundaries in Marriage. Boundaries for Leaders is especially for you if you're in a leadership role. That will help you with that. Okay, next one, number 8. Do it now, don't procrastinate. Do it now, don't procrastinate. So after you've done that daily preview where you look ahead at tomorrow and pick your 3 things, when tomorrow comes, you do this thing called eat that frog. Eat that frog. So eat that frog is a concept from Mark Twain that he said, if you had to eat a raw frog today, which would be disgusting, wouldn't it be great if you ate the frog and got it over with in the morning, then dread eating the frog all day and it ruined your day? So Brian Tracy made it famous with his version of the book, Eat That Frog. And it's a good reminder to tackle our tasks as early as we can in the day and as far away from the deadline as possible to reduce our stress. Because burnout is just continually procrastinating something until it becomes a crisis, and then we're like, and that ruins our day. Discipline bridges that gap from paying the price to actually enjoying the results of doing it now. I think it's sort of a domino effect in a bad way, right? A snowball effect. When you put off one thing, then it makes you cram and be unprepared for the next thing, which then throws off the whole day, right? If we would have just done it when we said we were going to do it in the early in the day, we wouldn't be in this snowball effect of now we're running behind the whole day. Instead, we have to knock over the lead domino in a good way by doing that most important priority as early in the process as possible. There's no magic to this. People have raised their hand in my time management seminar and go, so Paul, really what you're saying is self-discipline, right? I'm like, yeah, it's true. It is self-discipline. I can give you all these time management hacks, but you have to actually follow through and do them. So for procrastination, you have to at least get it started. I know that sounds silly because it's the easiest answer to avoiding procrastination is just start, right? Mel Robbins, she's got the most listened to podcast in the world right now. Mel says it's the 5-second rule. You don't have to buy the book. Here's what it says, that as soon as you say to yourself, I got to do this, your brain has 5 seconds to get it in gear or it slips away, right? So it's like, I got to start writing the performance appraisal for Oscar. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If I haven't started or put it on my calendar or to-do list or gotten it going, I'm not going to do the performance review for Oscar until later. And I've procrastinated it. So it's like as soon as you do it, you think of a task, you got to get in gear and start doing it, or it starts slipping away until you forget. You don't start it at all. It would be better to reward yourself when you avoid procrastination than get that hit, that the payoff of procrastinating, going like, oh good, I don't have to do that hard thing right now. Right? You get a payoff, you get a hit from doing that, but it would be way better to reward yourself for actually doing the hard thing. That's gonna beat burnout in the long run. So eat that frog and the 5-second rule. It's a good reminder there. All right, number 9 is to fill your tank regularly. So your energy tank needs to be full. We've talked about we can't pour out of a leaky cup or an empty cup. So if you want to bring out more joy in your life, which will help you burn bright, we've got to do good things for our spirit. For our spirit. Okay, so here's a little activity that we can just start right now, and you can do it more on your own. It's called the fills and drains activity. I'll put the form up on the screen in just a minute. But you're going to come up with things that fill your tank, your energy tank at work, and make it a good day. Things that fill your tank at home and make it a good day. Then on the other side, it's things that suck the life out of you at work, the drains, and the things that suck the life out of you at home, away from work. So I got things like I love sharing ideas, I love networking, I like listening to music, I like waterfalls. The drains, though, I don't like talking on the phone unless it's coaching somebody. I don't like little details. I don't like conflict, and I don't like traffic. So that's an example. But let's all just play this game here really quickly and come up with one thing that fills your energy tank at work. Would you all go to the chat, pretty please? And what's something very specific at work that makes it a good day, makes you smile, you're happy when you get to do it. It fills your energy tank at work. Everyone throw one in the chat really quickly. What's something that makes you smile at work? It fills your tank, makes it a good day. Coffee break with a coworker. I could sort of picture you like, this is great. This chit chat we're having right now makes me love the people around me more. That's great, Linda. Thank you. What else we got? As specific as possible on this one, if you can. Case staffing with the team, interacting with the participants. Ooh, a lot of people things right away. Ooh, there's a lot of people ones here. Isn't that interesting, right? That's the joy in your job is your team and your constituents. Morning devotion with the residents. Love it. Helping people accomplish goals. Christina's solving a safety conflict without the police. Yeah, I'm sure that's on the drain side, the police part, huh? Seeing clients move into a new place, walk around the office. Look at all these people things. I think this is one of the best ones that I've seen on this, where that just almost everybody said a people filler on the left side, right? Okay, now let's go over to the drain side of work. What's something at work that just sucks the life out of you? You're just like, this makes for a bad day. Makes you frown. Makes you tired just thinking about it. Something really specific that's on the drain side at work. Might have happened last week even, maybe. Yeah, clients swearing and yelling at me or the other staff. Yeah, wow. Take the life out of me for sure. What else? A drain at work. We're not going to belabor this, but let's pick them out. Is there a certain kind of meeting you don't like? Is it email? Oh yeah, there's the long and unproductive meeting for sure. Negativity from people, yeah. Damage to property. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it can be kinds of people on either side, right? Like a lot of people have positive people on the left and negative focused people on the right. Okay, so if we had more time, I'd have you try to pick 4 or 5 over here on this side and 4 or 5 on this side. So if you get a chance to do this in your quiet time or with your team, I think it's a good idea. Another good time to do this with your team is to find out what they really enjoy doing more, because you want to feed that, right? Maybe they say, well, I like it when I get recognized at work. Woo, let's feed that. Maybe at work, they're like, I don't like it when I have to, and then they say a task that they don't like. I wonder if there's a way we could have them do less of that. Maybe not. But it's just good that they see it as a drag, right? Like, ugh, and they don't like doing that. So that's good. Then of course in life, everybody puts something that you enjoy doing outside of work. So this is a kind of music, this is your hobbies, what you do with your family or your friends. What gives you joy outside of work? Your faith, some groups you're in maybe. Could be your favorite season. Okay, we got exercise there. Good job. Yep. Your favorite vacation spots. There's like the coast. Yes, I could share this form. It's a fun icebreaker, isn't it? If I can take it off the screen, I will see if I can do that for you. But go ahead and keep responding. What else is a fill outside of work? All right, now we're going to go over to, these are great. I mean, I love these. These are awesome. All right, now we're going to go over to the what drains your tank outside of work. So this is like bills, when things break, a type of weather that you don't like, conflict with somebody. What's a negative over here on this side? Okay, I just put the form in the chat. So if you want to click on that and download it, enjoy. Okay, not having enough money to do fun stuff. Yeah, your kid getting in trouble at daycare. Yeah, that's a drain for sure. You want to hear good news? All right. Thanks for participating in that activity. Sick, being stuck, people hitting your car. Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay, here's the point of the activity, everybody. You want to fill your life with as many fills as you can, especially when you get in a funk, and we all get in a funk. You want to have so many things in your fills column at both work and home that it's almost like a menu to pick from. So when you get in a funk, it's like you literally have to get that into your calendar, right? Like I have to schedule something with a friend that has lots of ideas, so we can be like electric in the coffee shop, like bzz, 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 like you got an idea? Oh, that's really cool. I got this idea too. And we go back and forth, and that just fills me right back up. So we have to have enough fills to feed our spirit. Now, just as an aside here on the drain side, you're not a victim, right? So you can do 3 things with a drain. You can A, make an action plan against it, right? You can actually do something about it. Not everything though. I can't do anything about bad weather. Number 2, I could put a boundary around it, like we've talked about. Like let's make sure that I don't have to do that or see that person as much or do that situation. And the third thing you can do is change your attitude toward it. Yeah, sometimes that's all you can do is say whatever, or I'm just going to let them, because this isn't good for me, and so I am just going to change my attitude. Either way, I'm not going to let it take me down for the rest of the day, right? So action plan, boundary, or change your attitude is what we can do with a drain. But what I'm trying to say under this point here is to fill your tank regularly. So run after passionate pursuits. The things we all need, like stuff to look forward to. Do you have a trip this summer that you're looking forward to? I hope so. right? If not, we got to get one on the calendar. My wife and I are going to start planning like tonight for the rest of the summer. Is it a trip? Is it an activity you get to do? Do you get to travel? Do you get to do a fun thing? We all need things to look forward to. Your free time is actually fuel. There's actually a guy who wrote a book on free time. I was like, wow, you actually wrote a book on it. But free time is actually your fuel, right? It pours back into you so you can go out and do it. Another book here that I would recommend for work is Working Genius. It's an assessment by Patrick Lencioni. He wrote like The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and some other great books. The Working Genius is a $25 assessment that you take to find out what gives you joy and satisfaction at work and what gives you close to burnout and dread at work. Types of tasks. So if you do it as a team, you put people in their joy satisfaction tasks and you remove them from their burnout energy sucking tasks. So Working Genius, I would throw in here because you want to be lit up at work for most of your tasks. All right. Yes, I will be sending out the slide deck for this. I'm going to send it to Brianna and then she can send it on to y'all. Okay, cool. Number 10, develop a new habit or routine. So I'm going to lump sort of the rest of the tips here into this last one by breaking it into a few categories, starting with physically. You probably thought this one was coming, right? We have to take good care of ourselves physically. So this is the whole self-care thing. And we give life to whatever we give energy to. That's the principle. We give life to whatever we give energy to. So if you want to give more life to your body, then we have to give energy towards that kind of self-care. If you want to give more life to your brain, we've got to give energy that. If you want to give it more to your social life, and so forth, right? So let's start with physical. Someone's like, can we skip these slides? No, just kidding. But we need energizing exercise. Even 15 minutes is better than nothing, right? We need to do some cardio, and all the research says, I think it's 150 minutes of cardio a week. So that would be 5 days of 30 minutes. And really, I've heard a lot of things over the years, but it seems like that's the message I'm hearing from a variety of sources. 150 minutes of cardio a week, and then weights, some type of weight training, could be your own body weight, at least 2 or 3 days a week. Okay, that's gonna help your metabolism. We lose muscle mass as we get older. So cardio and weights, find a way to move is really the bottom line here. It's good for our weight control. It also gets endorphins going. If you're bored with your workout, do something different. And one burnout resource said it's the #1 way to beat depression is exercise. So if you're already doing that, way to go. If you're not doing it, find a way to move. Second one is to get enough and regularly patterned sleep. Sleep, I think, is the core fitness or core wellness habit. You have to hit the off button at some point in your night where you can ramp down into bedtime, right? Again, if you're watching scary movies, and violent video games, and you're on your phone scrolling, doom scrolling, none of that's helping you ramp down to sleep. I do a crossword puzzle. I'm totally into those in the last year. And yes, it's still engaging my mind, but it's really chill for me. And it's like, it's easy. It's not a blue screen of death. So that's me. Some type of decompression. The principle here is not resting from your work, but working out of an abundance of rest. I'll say that again. It's not resting from work, which is what we think about. Like, I'm going to crash after work. No, it's like we're going to get enough sleep that we're going to work tomorrow out of an abundance of the rest that we get tonight. And that's just, it's a little play with words, I know, but it just shows how important adequate rest is. It allows you to regain your perspective. And if you're battling low-grade depression, you have to have more sleep. If you cheat your sleep, you're eventually going to burn out. It's just a fact of life. The third one is, when's the last time you had a full physical exam? Have you been to the doctor? If you can't think of the last time you've been to the doctor, it's probably been too long. Early detection is a real thing, everybody. And maybe you've had this happen to you where you got, your doctor caught something and he helped you or she helped you and it got way better. Your life was revolutionized, right? Hormone issues are real. ADD is real. Sleep apnea is real. Allergy issues are real. And it's amazing how long we go in life without getting it treated. And then we get it treated. It's like, oh, like, why did I spend so many years without getting that checked out? My life is so much better now. So I'm going to encourage you to get a full physical exam, get the blood work, get everything done to see how you're doing so that you can get on a plan. Maintaining good posture, I'm going to put under this one. When's the last time you rolled your shoulders back, right? Makes you just want to do that right now. Roll your shoulders back because we start getting hunched over our computers and we start walking down the hallway hunched over. And I just am reminded, like, posture starts with rolling your shoulders back. It's like, chest out, head tilt. That's what my trainer used to say, chest out, head tilt. All right. And that's going to help you get in that right position so that you get more oxygen. I know it's a little thing, but that's something we can work on. How about eating nutritionally? You're like, oh, I don't like this one. This is the one I'm not very good at. So first of all, don't self-medicate with food. That's not good. But I'm going to also say read the labels. So I'm reading the labels better than I ever have in my life. On the handout, I've got some other, like 6 other tips from a Dr. Richard Swenson. It's old advice, it's an older book, but I think it's still good. Like, decrease your sugar intake, don't skip meals, chew your food longer, mix stay at home. That's a little slam on McDonald's, I think. But try to eat as direct connection to the earth as possible, plant-based, drink, hydrate, all this stuff. We've heard all this. We just got to do it. And that's going to help us burn bright and not burn out. So sometimes we are what we eat. Next category, picking up speed here, spiritually. I believe, whether you're a faith person or not, that spiritual balance is the bedrock that makes all improvements in all the other areas of life sustainable. So when you take care of your spirit, it really does reverberate out into all these other areas of your life. So let me give you some quick tips here. The solitude, reflection, meditation, prayer, whatever your place of peace is, you got to get there. You got to spend time there, right? And this will go back to that personal retreat thing. I think you'll get a 2 for 1. Cultivating laughter. Don't take yourself so seriously, right? You're going to burn out if you're always just serious and intense all the time, right? We've just got to enjoy life more. I don't know if I should play this video clip for you. I think I'm gonna, just for fun. Okay, so this is some of my favorite comedians. This is they label all the different kinds of laughter. Okay, so enjoy this and maybe you'll laugh too. Let's see if I can make it work. Here we go.
Hey Tyler.
What do you do when you see a spaceman?
I don't know.
You park your car in it, man.
It's funny.
Yeah, why aren't you laughing?
I said that's funny.
Yeah, but that's what you do when you can't even muster up a courtesy laugh.
I don't know what you want from me right now.
I don't know. Maybe just a...
That's not really my style. I'm more of a...
Oh, I'm kind of a... He said you park your car in it. It's a spaceman.
No, you're not.
Not what?
You're not rolling on the floor laughing. Why would you lie about that?
That's what that means? I thought it meant really obscene fart laugh.
No, it doesn't. Wait. Did you?
All right, there we go. I'm hoping you got a little chuckle from Tripp and Tyler on the different kinds of laughter. They also do the different types of crying. which is pretty funny too. It might be just a stress break, a pressure relief valve for you today. But basically, the point here is to cultivate laughter. A couple more to feed your spirit. Gratitude journal, right? I think Oprah made that famous many years ago. Gratitude leads to joy. It really does, right? And Colin Powell said, optimism is a force multiplier, right? So if you're a journaler, you already know this. If not, you can at least do a gratitude journal. You can even do it on a Post-it every day. You don't even have to have a journal, right? Because the prolonged negative thoughts lead to burnout. So we got to flip the turtle, right? The turtle's on its back. We got to flip the turtle back up to the front. And journaling gratitude might help. I also put on here giving more than hoarding. Giving is more abundance. Hoarding is more scarcity. Listening to music that restores you. You get a pleasurable flood of dopamine, and it lowers your stress when you listen to, that chill kind of music that you like, right? Did you know that the ancient Greeks actually assigned a physician and a musician to the sick to restore health? Isn't that fascinating? So then you just give them a doctor, they gave him like a harpist too. Like, all right, we're going to send you home with this harpist because we think it's good for your, yeah, it is cool. Yeah. Forgiveness is going to go in this category, right? Having self-compassion, forgive yourself, forgive others. Conflict, remember, going to lead to burnout. It's a source of frustration. So we're going to have to like let ourselves off the hook and work on self-compassion. I do have a resource for that. If you are interested, hit me up later for that. And and then forgiving other people. Thought control is the key here, folks. So your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. So we got to make it a good one. Are we are feeding ourselves burnout thoughts or burning bright thoughts? And that is really huge. Sometimes we have to use these like things called self-affirmations. And you might go, Paul, I think those are cheesy. Well, I'm not saying like I'm the best leader in the whole world. Like that is cheesy. Okay, but look at the ones on the screen. I'm getting better daily. My future is bright. I can handle this. I got this, right? The affirmation people say it 3 times aloud in the morning and then do something like exercise or walk your dog or, have your coffee, but just like get it out there and link it to an activity. And then it's going to start rewiring your brain and then reflect on how this is going, right? So make sure it's very authentic and it's going to be empowering to you. Don't pick a cheesy one. Okay, socially, sometimes we need to get a life. Again, I'm not targeting anybody here, right? But building relationships by blocking out time for social life. This is your family time. Are you having date nights with the people that you love the most in your family? If you have teenagers, it's called forced family fun, right? You still got to make them do it, but they actually like it. They're just not going to say it. They're not going to give you any response. But when they grow up, they're going to be like, I'm glad my mom and dad made me do that. And then, of course, undivided attention when you're with your family, being fully present. They know if your eyes on your phone or on the TV, or if you're actually listening to them. So really listen. Get together with your circle of influence if you've got a cause group or a hobby group or a church group. Make sure you're hanging out with them, going out to coffee with your friends. Thinking about like they say you're the sum total of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. You're becoming like them. So what do you want most in those friends? You probably want people that understand, right? People that actually get you. So I would encourage you to hang out with those folks on a regular basis. Because when you're by yourself, that's when you get picked off and you're like, oh, that's when you're like, I'm lonely. And then you start burning out with all those thoughts. But when you're in relationship with people that are vibrant, then it's like, yeah, I do feel like I'm burning bright. So are they boosters or drainers, those people? Are they energy vampires that drain the life out of you? Or do you feel lifted when you're with them? Okay, mentally, so this could be a professional development, or this could be a skill you're working on, just something that needs to be renewed that you're getting stale in your life. So this is maybe a new challenge, a creative challenge, an adventure, like starting learning an instrument or a foreign language or cooking or golfing. I think it's just really important to have something new in our life once in a while. Getting new ideas on the internet or from friends that are idea people. Volunteering goes here. I mean, it's almost like you're volunteering in your cause every day by what you all do, which I so think is so cool. The job that you have to help people. So maybe it's volunteering in a different way. Your hobbies go here. I put on the screen here, well, one passion is thriving, it shines onto the rest of your life. So if you can light something up, then you are actually able, it sort of bleeds over into work and into other things. So we actually need that play in our life. Emotional health is sort of a blend of all these things, of physical, spiritual, social, and mental. So I won't do a special category on that, but do come up with some things that you're going to ask yourself to light up these areas of your life. Okay, finally, this is what you get when you're charged up and burning bright. Your attitude is elevated, your energy is expanded, your relationships are strengthened, your thinking is unclouded, your confidence is edified or built up, your judgment is precise when you make decisions, and your job performance soars. All these are great things that happen when you are burning bright and not burning out. Sometimes you need a coach, sometimes you need a mentor, but these are people helpers in our life that will help us get to your goals by storyboarding your life to get there. So don't be afraid to hire someone or get some help to help you get out of burnout and into burning bright. So again, coaches, counselors, mentors, and really great friends are what you might need to stay charged up. All right, let's see what you learned. Are your fingers ready? Here's your quiz. Okay, we'll see who can type the fastest these answers. Ready? Here we go. Burnout is extended negative response to, starts with an S. Extended negative response to stress. There we go. People lose their way when they lose their why. You can't be persuasive when you are. I just slid this. Yeah, brace it, Danielle. You got it. Turn the rat race into a, what kind of race? Relay race. Oh, you guys are fast. Can't even tell who's coming in first. If you have more than how many priorities, you have no priorities for the day. 3, Emily, way to go. When you say no, you are actually saying what to higher priority people and tasks? Yes. The number one way to beat depression is, starts with an E, exercise. I didn't tell you what this one is, CTFAR, but it's circumstance, thought, feeling, action, and then you get a result. And then are the 5 closest people to you boosters, or are they, another word for energy vampires, drainers? Amos, you got it. Way to go, everybody. All right, so what now what? Before you head out, I want to hear one more time in the chat a takeaway. So in this last section, we talked about mental, social, physical, and spiritual. Some hacks there. Is there a habit there that you want to do? We also talked a bit about the fillers and drainers, beating procrastination, and boundaries. So my friends, everyone go into the chat one more time, please, and put one more takeaway, or it could be something from the whole 3 hours together. But what are you going to do with this information? What are you going to go do? What are you going to go teach to somebody else? How are you going to keep growing forward? As you're typing, I like to say, make a little progress every day. We are what we repeatedly do. It is hard to do all these things all the time, but we just got to stay on it. All right, Shane, run after passionate pursuits and make a plan around those drains. Yes. Closed. Make sure your gate can be closed, Linda. Oh, I love that. You're going to have those boundaries. Bills and drains tomorrow, Emily. Love to hear how that goes. That's cool. Limit the time you allow drainers. Yep. Ending a call when someone's yelling. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you if you speak to me. Oh, that's such a great phrase, Christina, right? You're going to let them in if they show respect. Yep. Very practical. It's their choice. All right, last words, last words. Here's my closing quote for you. And just an encouragement. The encouragement is to take care of yourself so that you can help others take care of themselves. Right? That's what you're all about. That's why you chose this career. You're a model to those on your team, whether you like it or not. So that ups the ante for being a good role model of health and wellness and balance, right? So if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for others. But I think we should do it for ourselves, right? We should respect ourselves first. And then out of that abundance, we're going to be able to bless others. So there's my contact information on the screen. I got a newsletter that some of you have signed up for, Growing Forward, which gives you 4 tips twice a month. Or if you're on social media, would love to connect with you there or get some tips. And it has been a pleasure. Brianna, I'll turn it back over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul, for your time today and everybody else who came to this webinar. If there's any questions that you guys have, you guys can totally reach out to Paul, myself, or Bree. And then as far as the recording and any resources, we will have that for you guys probably mailed out in the next week or so.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. That was such good information that I know will be utilized. We appreciate
My
your
pleasure.
time. Thank you, everyone. We'll get that email out to you in about a week. Yes, we will have the recording as well. We can attach that to the email also. And it will be on our YouTube page as well as our Waqrr recording section on our webpage. So, all right, everyone, have a great day.
Bye, guys.